Good evening and welcome to the ordinary meeting of Council 25th of July 2022. I declare the meeting open and welcome you to this month's meeting of Council. The recording of this Council meeting will be available to the public on Council's website for a minimum period of 6 months. In accordance with Council policy, I will now ask Council staff to confirm that the recording has commenced.
Yes, it has, Mayor.
Thank you. I would first like to acknowledge that we meet on the land of the Malakadi people, the traditional custodians of this land. Our Aboriginal people have a deep spiritual connection to being on country and have been the caretakers of our waterways and land for over 40,000 years in Tasmania. We pay respect to them, their customs, to their elders, past, present and emerging. Okay, so attendance. We have no one online tonight, no councillors online. We have Robbie Prince, we have Paul Gibson, we have Sue Clark and we have Joanne Lovell. Would you like to introduce your staff, please?
Yeah, thanks, Acting Mayor. We've got in the chambers with us tonight the Director of Legal and Governance Services, Matt Grimsey, our Executive Assistant, Sandy Rustle, and ITC Officer, Michael Glazer. And online we got our Director of Community Services, Rebecca Stevenson, our Director of Corporate Services, David Spinks, and Director of Infrastructure Services and Acting Director of Environment and Development Services, Lockie Krantz.
Okay, thank you. We have number 2, non-attendance. We have an apology from Councillor O'May. Do we have any others? Yep. We have Councillor O'May, we have Councillor Newell and Councillor Campbell. And we have leave of absence of Councillor Enders. Absent is none. Declaration of interest. Councillors, is there any item on the agenda where you need to declare an interest?
Yes, Acting Mayor.
Thank you. Okay.
And I so do,
Yep.
Acting Mayor,
Yep.
for item 20.007/22.
Thank you. Now I believe you have an announcement to make, General Manager.
I do. Thank you, Councillor Prince, for your declaration of interest, and as advised, I need to advise, as a result of the declared interest, the Council would not have a quorum for those 2 agenda items tonight. So agenda items 15.004/22 and 20.004/22 will be withdrawn from consideration at this council meeting and brought before a special meeting of the council at 6 p.m. Wednesday the 2nd of February, which will allow for notices to be published. Acting Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, confirmation of minutes. Do I have a councillor to move the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council on Thursday the 6th?
So moved. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Let me finish.
I was a bit too soon. Sorry.
Yes, special meeting of council on Wednesday the 4th of January and special meeting of council on the 19th of January. Moved by Councillor Clark and seconded by Councillor Prince. Does any councillor wish to report any changes? Okay. Well, I will put the motion. Those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all councillors present and the motion is carried. Do I have to read that next bit out, Matthew? That the minutes of the have been...
For the purpose of the recording, it would be of use.
Yep.
So I understand.
Yep. Thank you. That the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council Thursday the 16th of December 2021 are circulated, be confirmed as circulated. The minutes of the special meeting of council Wednesday the 4th of January 2022 as circulated to be confirmed, and that the minutes of the special meeting of council Wednesday the 19th of January 2022 as circulated be confirmed. Number 5. Legislative items. General Manager, are there any items tonight? No. Number 6, urgent matters. General Manager, I understand there is an urgent matter tonight.
There is, thank you, Acting Mayor. I bring forward the following matter. It's a legal matter. In accordance with the Regulations 8, subsection 6 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulations 2015, the General Manager reports that the matter was not included on the agenda for the meeting as the advice was not received until the 19th of January 2022 and required review. The matter is urgent as failure to address the matter may result in a legal action, and advice has been provided under section 65 of the Act in a report to be discussed in closed council. So the recommendation is pursuant to Regulation 8, subsection 6 of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulations 2015, the urgent matter of legal matter to be listed on the agenda for discussion as agenda item 20.007/22 in closed council, please.
Thank you. Okay, announcements. Councillors. Oh, okay. All right, so can I have a mover for that? Yes, Councillor Prince and Councillor Gibson. And would you like to speak on that? No? Any other councillor? No? Okay, all right, so all in favour? All in favour? Thank you. Okay, number 7. Councillors, do you have any announcements this evening? Yes, Councillor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, Acting Mayor. So I had an announcement on Friday last week. We had 2 community groups that came together to put a seat down at the start of the walk in Geefston, the Geefston to Port Huon track, and it was put on Johnny Drysdale's land, and it's a memorial to Kay and Royce Burgess's 2 boys that were drowned in the river back in 1980. It was a really hard time for Geefston. That was on Father's Day back in 1980, and that family every year still remember quite well, and so does the town of Geefston. And we just thought it would be nice to put something there so that they had a place to go and remember their boys and their family as well, and that Geefston can continue to remember. So if you get the chance to visit, go and have a look, and it's a really lovely spot down there.
Thank you. Any other councillor? I do have. This is the media release for the Huon Valley Financial Services. Crisis accommodation for the Huon Valley residents experiencing domestic violence. The owners of the Huon Valley Bendigo Bank Community Bank branch, Huon Valley Financial Services, have been investing in the needs of the Valley for over 18 years. Profits generated from 4 branches in Geefston, Dover, Yountville and Cygnet are directed by a voluntary board to many worthy causes. Due to the efforts of the dedicated staff and the ongoing support of many customers and shareholders, approximately $3 million has been invested back into the Huon Valley community. Recent community advice provided by the Huon Valley Domestic Violence Service indicated that up to 60% of victims of domestic violence do not report to police. In addition, 10% of the families presenting to domestic violence crisis accommodation providers in the South in the last 18 months have been from the Huon Valley. Huon Valley Financial Services Chair Michael Lynch noted that many families are turned away. There is a distant lack of suitable crisis and transitional accommodation. The board approached Jira House, a women's shelter in Kingston, to discuss crisis housing options. After a number of consultations and a lengthy search, the board recently approved the purchase of a 3-bedroom home in the Kingston municipality. Huon Valley Financial Services Director Pam Lane said, "We will provide the home in partnership with Jira House to offer Huon Valley families experiencing family violence as a safe and secure place." The board will provide all initial household goods and grants annual services operating costs of up to $15,000 to Gyra House. This is to ensure that the appropriate supports are in place for the tenants of the home. In addition to the purchase of the home in the last financial year, the board has returned almost $350,000 to communities across our following activities: education and research, $95,000, sport and recreation, $68,000, community facilities, $55,000, health and wellbeing, $51,000, arts, culture and heritage, $30,000, emergency services, $27,000, and environmental and animal welfare, $22,000. So I think that the whole of the Yuan Valley, that Bankswin Bendigo, they say thank you. Okay, public participation. I'm on the right page there, Sandy. Yep, 8.1. Answers to previous questions taken on notice. It was from Dr. Smith, and it was at the meeting of the AGM on the 15th to 12th, 21. Regarding the role of Mayor in the recruitment of the General Manager, Section 27 and 28 of the Local Government Act 1993 state that the Mayor is to lead and participate in the appointment of the General Manager. On page 13 of the draft annual report 2021, the council committees and their memberships are listed, as well as listing of the committees' positions held by each councillor. However, there is no listing for the General Manager's recruitment panel, created in closed council on March 31st, 3 months before the end of the financial year. The panel was consistently referred to by the CEO of the Local Government Association of Tasmania as a council committee, and more specifically, the General Manager's Recruitment Committee, page 32 agenda of a special meeting on 2nd of July 2021. The question was, why is the GMRP not included as a council committee on page 15 with the General Manager's Performance Review Committee and Audit Panel, and its membership not recorded in the annual report as for other council committees? The response is, the recruitment panel was not established as a council committee under Section 23 of the Local Government Act 1993. B. Why is councillor membership of the GMRP not also listed in page 13 under committee membership as of all other council duties? The response is, the councillors' appointment to the recruitment panel were not members of a council committee. Question 2. It is recorded on page 13 that the Mayor was on leave of absence from the 26th of March to the 5th of May. However, there was no records in the agenda or minutes of the closed session of the council meeting of February 24th, March 31st or April 28th that the Mayor applied for leave of absence as required by the Local Government Act Meeting Procedures Regulation 2015, S.39, 3 and 4. 39, leave of absence. 3, a leave of absence may not be granted retrospectively. 4, the purpose of the leave of absence and the period involved are to be recorded in the minutes. Why is there no record that leave of absence was granted to the Mayor in the minutes for either February, March or April council meetings? Response was that the leave of absence was considered in closed council in accordance with Regulation 15(2)H of the Local Government Meeting Procedures, Regulations 2015, and is recorded in those minutes. Question number 3. It is the responsibility of the Mayor to lead and participate in the appointment and the monitoring of the performance of the General Manager, Local Government Act 1993, Section 27 1G. As the Chair of the General Manager's Recruitment Panel and as required for the role of the Mayor under Section 27 1G of the Local Government Act 1993, How many meetings of the GMRP did the Mayor chair between March 31st and May the 5th? The response is, between the 31st of March and the 5th of May, the meeting of the GMRC were chaired by the Deputy Mayor, acting in the position of Mayor under full authority to exercise the powers and the functions of the Mayor as provided under Section 27(2) of the Act. Dr Smith, meeting of the 16th of the 12th, 21. Thank you, Mayor, for asking about an update on the progress of projects that received funding from election promises earlier this year. I have questions about the proposed project at Burton's Reserve to build a pump track. As many of you know, I used to live opposite Burton's Reserve, which is part of the conservation area, and have observed the changes over the past 20 years. Significant parts of the reserve are now occupied by recreational infrastructure. A large barbecue shelter, 2 playground areas, plus a swing area, the skate park, which has been a great success, and a fitness station, which is hardly ever used. There are also the 2 small heritage-listed cottages and the Scout Hall and its large storage shed. Another large area is fenced off for the sewage pumping station, and there is substantial area for car park. From the response to your request for information, it seems that there is to be an engagement plan at Inform level, that the scope of works is complete and a contractor already engaged for this $20,000 project, which is to start in April. And yet, as far as I know, no stakeholders have, such as the Signet Association, have been consulted. Question: what is a pump track and how was the demand for it assessed? Where is it proposed to locate it? Where is the proposed locate? And how would it supplement what is already available at the skate park in Burton's Reserve, and would it further reduce green space in that reserve? Response: a pump track is a mountain bike style track designed as a continuous circuit of humps and turns. Pump tracks are proving very popular for mountain bike skill development for all ages. This design accommodates a wide variety of rider skill levels, with an advanced rider able to use momentum to pump around the track without pedalling. A bike track is included in the Council's Burton Reserve Master Plan of March 2017. The position of the track in the master plan is on the existing concrete hardstand adjacent to the skate park. In accordance with the approved master plan, designs and quotes are currently being sourced. Location, use of the surrounding area and previous engagement feedback will be considered. Once finalised, engagement will be undertaken at the Inform level. If there are significant changes to the approved master plan, engagement will be undertaken at consult level. Thank you, Dr. Smith. Howard Wilcoxon, the Signet Association meeting of the 16th to 12th, 21. As most of you would be aware, the section of Leamington Road between the Signet Sailing Club and the Katos Bay is much used by pedestrians. This is likely to increase with the building of the new public jetty. There are 2 blind corners, the edge of the road drops off, and there is no footpath whatsoever. In documentation prepared for Council in 2016, the cost of building a walkway from the Sailing Club to the Katos Bay boat ramp was estimated to be $310,000. And the General Manager at the time, Simone Watson, wrote that the project is currently included in the allocation of the 2023 and the 23-24 financial years, and that we intend over the coming months to start work on the documentation, required for this project and commence applying for the appropriate permits. Emilio Real confirmed this in 2018 when he was General Manager. Despite a $250,000 grant having now been secured from the Vulnerable Road Users Program and significant savings having been made on other infrastructure projects, we are now told that due to the uncertainty about the eventual costs due to the lack of geotechnical and marine engineer reports, this grant money should be returned and the project should be deferred until such time as the adequate plans are prepared. So the question is, if this project is to be deferred, could Council indicate when when these plans be prepared and what is it meant by a marine engineer report on this context? Surely marine engineering is somewhat odd for a footpath that is adjacent to the foreshore. The response is, the road and shoulder in this location is narrow and the site is further constrained by the presence of threatening avota trees. A footpath in this location will therefore require substantial sections to be built on piers over the water. Such coastal construction requires specialist engineering beyond what would be expected if this was a land-based civil engineered footpath. Further discussion was had with the the Cygnet Association in January 2022. It was agreed that Council would inspect the section of road and consider further investigations regarding safety solutions for a specific section of road shoulder currently being used as a footpath. Okay, so questions without notice. Welcome to public question time. We do not have any gallery tonight, so the questions have all been sent in. So I go to let's see. Pardon? Yeah, that's right. So we'll go. These emails were sent in before 12 noon today. Gregory Campbell, Cygnet. In relation to DA 359/2020 of 3 Leamington Road, Cygnet, in which a condition was placed that a landscape plan must be submitted to and approved by Council's Director of Environment and Development Services prior to a building permit being issued. Why was a permit issued without this condition being met? If this was an oversight, what training process or systems will Council put in place to ensure that conditions on permits are met prior to being issued? The response: the landscaping plan is a requirement of the planning permit. However, landscaping is not considered building works as described in the Building Act of 2016. Therefore, when the landscaping plan was not delivered to the requirement of the DA 359/2020, Condition 2, it was not considered a suitable reason for the permit authority to refuse to issue a building permit. The Planning Authority, Council, acknowledged the requirements of Condition 2 of DA 359/2020 was not fully satisfied. Planning compliance enforcement has been delayed in this case. However, action will be taken and the process reviewed as part of ongoing works to improve response time. Would you like to have a read? Thank you.
So we've moved on to our next question from Jeffrey Swan of Lonadale, which in July 2021, I asked the following public question and the response was, the Huon Valley Council is not able to make any further comment. This investigation is still ongoing and the Director of Local Government has not as yet been able to advise the source of the leak. As a journalist, I am in possession of written confirmation of the source of the leaked details of these 3 candidates, which include Jason Brown and perhaps more importantly when this information was leaked to my source. On behalf of council staff who may be embroiled in this matter by way of suspicion or possible involvement, will council now please answer my question reproduced below in order to provide transparency and to clear any possible innuendo of I am calling for transparency from our council. So question July 2021. Following the leak of extremely confidential information surrounding the General Manager recruitment process, will Council please provide a comprehensive description of the HVC email system and provide assurance this system is fail-safe? In dot point, who, by job title, has access to emails sent to the HVC email address? Second dot point, who, by job title, has access to emails sent to the councillors' HVC email addresses? Third dot point, who in management has access to emails coming into the HVC email system? The fourth dot point, are councillor emails still printed out and placed in a pigeonhole arrangement, as has been the process in the past? And the final dot point, what, if any, is council proposing with respect to tightening up confidentiality on electronic communications? And the response, this is a serious matter that has been referred to the Director of Legal Government. When matters of this serious nature are referred to the Director, there is always the possibility of the matter being investigated. The Huon Valley Council will assist the Director of Local Government in any way they can. Should they wish to investigate the alleged breach, the Huon Valley Council is not able to make any further comment on the alleged breach of confidentiality on the advice of the Director of Local Government. The question is stated to be on behalf of council employees, and yet it specifically references suspicion and possible involvement by employees. Identification of a position effectively identifies the employee who performs that role. That employee may then be subject to speculation, innuendo and bullying simply because of an answer to a question that has been misused or misrepresented. An answer to this question will place council employees in an unsafe workplace situation simply because they hold and perform a role. This is unacceptable. Council will also not compromise the safety and security of its email system and will not be providing a comprehensive description as requested. As advised, this is a serious matter that has been referred to the Director of Local Government. It is not a matter of appropriate for public debate or speculation, particularly where knowledge of the leak has been stated and should be referred to the Director. The Huon Valley Council will not be making any further comment. So I'm going to park the second question there and move on to a question from Dr. Liz Smith of Signet. Yeah, we'll answer each question, a question from each, and then go back if we have some time to respond to subsequent questions. So again, Dr. Liz Smith of Signet. At the Council AGM on December 15, I asked important questions regarding whether the Mayor had been involved in the critical early stages of the process for the appointment of a new General Manager when Red Giant was appointed as the recruitment agency on April 13. I asked whether the Mayor had been granted a leave of absence by the Council during the time when she was required to lead and participate in the recruitment of the new General Manager, Local Government Act, Section 27G. The answer in the agenda for this meeting, January 25, 2022, is that the leave of absence was considered in closed council in accordance with Regulation 15.2H of the Local Government Meeting Procedures Regulations 2015 and is recorded in those minutes. However, in the minutes of the council meeting on March 31, 2021, there is no record that the application for leave of absence was on the agenda of the open meeting to be discussed in the closed section of the meeting, nor was it put forward as an urgent matter. In the closed section of the meeting, no application for leave of absence was listed, even though the Meetings Procedures Regulations, Section 15, subsection 5, requires that if at a meeting a council or council committee closes a part of the meeting, the grounds for the closure are to be recorded in the minutes relating to the part of the meeting that is open to the public. So the question is, why is there no record of the granting of leave of absence to the Mayor in the minutes of the Council meeting of March 31, 2021, as required by Section 15(5) of the Local Government Meeting Procedure Regulations 2015. Was leave of absence granted by the Council to Mayor Enders under Section 15, subsection 2H of the Local Government Act 1993 for the period when she was absent from her duties at the Council during March and April 2021? And if so, what was the agenda number for the approval on March 31, and how many meetings of the General Manager Recruitment Panel did the Mayor chair between March 31 and May 5, 2021? The response. Regulations 15(5) of the Local Government Meeting Procedure Regulations 2015 provides that where the Council closes part of the meeting, that the grounds for closure are recorded in the meeting that is open to the public. The grounds for closure of the meeting was set out in the Open Council minutes in agenda number 20.015/21. The application for leave of absence for the Mayor was brought forward while the meeting was closed and properly considered under Regulation 15(2)H, and is recorded in the closed Council minutes. Between 31 March and 5 May 2021, the meetings of the General Manager's Performance Review Committee were chaired by the Deputy Mayor acting in the position of Mayor under full authority to exercise the powers and functions of the Mayor as provided under Section 27(2) of the Act. Moving on to the next question from Irene Swan of Lonadale. The question is, the upcoming public meeting on 4 February 2022 about the flawed GM recruitment process is the most important public meeting this Council will hold in this term of Council. The Council website is advising and the meeting will be filmed but will not be live streamed. There are no technical reasons why a meeting being video recorded cannot be live streamed from the Franklin Palace, and given the importance of this meeting, then surely cost is not an issue. COVID means attendance at the live meeting is limited. Will Council please provide clear reasons as to why they will not be live streaming this public meeting? And the response, the recording device does not provide for live stream. There is also reduced Council access to bandwidth at the site. Whilst able to connect to the 4G network given the time of the meeting, this does not ensure a reliable stream. If there are any issues with the stream dropping out, this would also affect the recording of the meeting. In addition, as provided in the report to the 4th of January special meeting, there is also an inherent risk associated with a live stream of a public meeting, such as the potential for defamatory statements and imputations being made at the meeting and then published by the Council. So, I need to come back to that one. The next question is from Archie Donnelly on behalf of the Fixed Human Council. The question is, it has been reported that council workers' employment was terminated in December because of theft of council equipment. If this is true, when were the police notified, and if they were not notified, why not? The response, no council workers' employment has been terminated in the current financial year.
I'll just check with you, Sandy, how long has that been?
About 3 minutes.
Okay, we'll go back then. Yep. You want me to? You're right.
So we're up to number 11 if you want to take back over.
Up to,
Jen, right away.
oh yes, oh, got that right. Usually got some others in a minute.
Yep.
Jen Headaway of Dover. Through the Mayor to the General Manager. General Manager, you have by now had approximately 4 months' time to assess the community you were appointed to serve and the council officers with whom you must work. Would you please advise your plans to develop community confidence in you as a General Manager in 2022? And if
Acting Mayor, if you want me to answer that, given it's to me, I'm happy to do so.
Yeah, I will. Would you advise your plans to develop community confidence in you as a General Manager in 2022? And if your plans include community meetings and similar strategies across the region?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Thank you for your question, Ms Hadaway. And yes, it has been a busy but important 4 months engaging with the community, staff and other key stakeholders. The period has provided an opportunity to gather feedback on the matters that we need to better respond to, several originating from our community satisfaction survey back in 2019, which included the maintenance of our roads, improving customer experiences with our planning function, and increasing communication surrounding our progress against key outcomes of interest to the community. I see the greatest opportunity to increase confidence in our organisation is to demonstrate we have heard feedback from our community and deliver on plans in response. Over the past 6 weeks, we've been preparing our plan for the second half of this financial year and the ingredients for our FY 2022-23 annual plan and budget, which will capture this feedback and begin to establish plans in response. An initiative to help increase engagement with our community on the progress of these important initiatives will be the introduction of a community conversation on projects and matters of community interest and continuing to gather feedback from the community. Recognising that these meetings will be periodic, I invite meetings with the community members where they would like to share matters of concern or positive feedback at any time between these community conversations.
Thank you. These will be on the website and yeah, thank you. So if we didn't get to your question, they will be there for you to see the answers to. Thank you. 8.2, deputation addresses to council. Neil?
Neil.
Petitions. General Manager, there's no petition.
No petitions. Back to you, Mayor.
Planning Authority reports, General Manager, are there any planning matters tonight?
No, there are not, Acting Mayor.
Number 11, general reports. General reports and minutes are presented in relation to the following matters: the General Manager's operational report, the Mayor Ender's activity report, Human Resources quarterly report, Yuan Valley Council Quick Response Community Grants update, audit panel minutes, open 7th December 21, Marine Facilities Development Advisory Committee minutes 13th of December 21, and the Southern Tasmanian Council's Authority quarterly report December 2021, and there's a link to that. Do I have any councillors wishing to table their activities tonight? Just mine, yes. I refer to the councillor to the recommendations of this report. Do I have a councillor to move a motion that the general reports and minutes for the period 1st to the 31st of December 2021 be received and noted? Councillor Lovell, and seconded Councillor Clark. Councillor Lovell, do you wish to speak to?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Okay. I will open it up. Is there anybody else that has any questions or no? Okay. So there's no one to speak against, and I will put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. And the motion was carried. The recommendation that reports minutes for the period of 31st December be received and noted. Council workshops, 15th of December, General Manager and Councillor workshops. General Manager engage councillors on priorities and expectations over the next 18 months in the lead up to the half-year budget review on 2021-2022 and early budget discussions for 2022-2023. Councillor questions taken on notice, and I will pass back to you, General Manager, if you'd like to deal with those ones.
Yeah. Yes, thanks, Acting Mayor.
Yep.
So the first one was from Councillor Gibson. An inquiry has been received from a resident who lives adjacent an orchard. What are the rules or what permits and licences are required to have pickers camps on the orchard? The resident is concerned about fires being lit. And the response is, What, if any, approvals are required for pickers to camp on an agricultural use property would be dependent on the specific circumstances of the property and camp. In terms of planning controls, if the pickers camp is part of the orchard operation on a property's own rural resource or significant agriculture, then the use could potentially be classified as resource development, which is no permit required in both these zones. That does not preclude the application of other legislative controls, including environmental health and general nuisance abatement. However, further information would be required to determine if these are applicable. The resident is encouraged to submit further information to the hvc@huonvalley.tas.gov.au email, and we will endeavour to provide a more detailed response. A second question is from Councillor Campbell. Page 17 of the GM operational report attachments relates to the development under your delegated authority for the approval of a development approval at 22 Kellaway Street, Ranelagh, a shipping container, under DA 22/2020. Could you provide a short summary of how you approved this DA and how you applied your delegated approval as General Manager to that approval? The response, the process that is used under the General Manager delegated approval is the same as when Council acts as a planning authority. The application is assessed, taking into account any representations made, and I receive the qualified advice in the same manner as councillors, with the exception of the Council meeting report. Where I consider that there are issues with the recommendation, I would raise with the planning officer before approving. Second question from Councillor Campbell. On page 45 of the annual report, under the waste management strategy, it states develop a Huon Valley waste management strategy and indicates that stage 1 of community engagement has been completed. Could you advise when the draft strategy is expected to be completed, please? And the response, the draft strategy is currently under final review to be reported to Council in March 2022.
Okay, councillors, are there any questions relating to those taken on notice? No. If not, I will proceed to questions without notice. 13.2. Do any councillor have any questions without notice? Yes, Councillor Prince.
Thank you, Mayor. This is just a question that came up earlier today in conversation, but through you to the relevant staff member, what happens when someone does not pay their rates for subsequent years? Just more of a curiosity thing. Thank you.
I'll ask David, our Director of Corporate Services, just to respond to that.
Yep, so what happens there, Acting Mayor, is that outstanding rates remain a charge on the property, so that they always remain a fee payable. Throughout debt management procedures and follow-up procedures, letters and phone calls, payment plans and all these kinds of things. But in the long run, if all of those sort of actions remain unsuccessful, the council does have power under the Local Government Act to sell properties for outstanding rates. Which are outstanding for more than 3 years. You might be aware that some councils do, and I'll backtrack. We are sort of having a look at our outstanding rates at the moment, and we also have a number of properties that have outstanding rates and have been outstanding for some time. And it is my intention to bring that information to council sometime in the future for some decisions to be made around what actions it may wish to take around that. But no time do we sort of write the rates off. They always remain debt due and payable, and we do have that ultimate power in the long run.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Director. Do I have any other councillors have a question? Yes, Councillor Gibson.
Through you, Mayor, to Director of Planning, I guess. Just a question about the Tasmanian Planning Scheme consultation. I wanted to know how many people came to the information session in Signet. I unfortunately couldn't make it because I was working. Just wanted to know what the response was there. I have tried to sort of go in and look at the interactive map, and it's not particularly easy to find on the website. I was wondering if it was possible to put a direct button on the home page so that people can check their zones. You've got to wander your way through the council website to find it. Also, the colours don't match the zones. The map and the key don't match. I don't know whether there's anything that can be done about that. A link to the Tasmanian planning scheme, I think, would also be useful somewhere so that people can actually see how the zones relate, and maybe an explanation of zone differences. And there was one other question, which was around some properties where there's half the property should be one zone and the other half should clearly be another. And the particular cases I'm looking at are rural and landscape conservation, and just a question about how that can be managed and whether it's possible to do split zonings.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. Can I ask that question through you to the Director, please?
Thank you. We're going to refer that one to me, General Manager. So through you, Acting Mayor. Thanks for the question, Councillor Gibson. Today's session in Signet was the first one of the public information sessions. It went well. We had 5 attendees out of 10 that booked to come along. That meant those guys could get some pretty hands-on advice on their particular questions, which was good for them. I think they all walked away satisfied and informed. Obviously, for people that can't attend these sessions, there is a lot of information on the website, and in line with your question, I do acknowledge it is a complicated. We've tried to get it as I guess plain English and step it through as possible on the website. But I'm happy to work with you, Councillor Gibson, if you've got some those particular suggestions. We can go through that tomorrow and see if we can add some. We can provide, there's 2 links off the website, 2 current spots. If you go to planning, you go directly through to this critical area, and also from the Have Your Say component, we can put some more. We can put something else up on the current happenings part of the website as well. So there's always things we can do to improve that. We do have a 60-day period, so we'll take every opportunity to make it as easy for people as possible through that. Relating to your question around the what you said was obvious discrepancies, I guess, in the zoning of those of one property. The zoning that's applied to land is there are guidelines for that, so they're published, and there's actually a link to that. It's a document by the Tasmanian Planning Commission. It's guideline 1, and there is a link to that on our website. That actually sets out the standards that are applied to demonstrate how a particular piece of land should be zoned. We spoke about that today with those attendees at the public forum because it came up, and we've directed people, as I'll direct you and anyone else listening, that that's a great place to start to understand why a particular zone applies to your particular piece of land, and that is exactly the kind of thing that a representation can be made on. It obviously would need to be merits based, so professional advice to, I guess, challenge the current position or challenge that current zoning. But that is the kind of thing that we would, urge people to consider. Is that zoning relevant? Does it make sense? And put that to a professional person, a planning consultant, for them to provide advice of whether they could make a case on your behalf and a representation to the LPS. Does that cover?
The final question about split zoning.
Split zoning.
Splitting. Yeah. Is it possible for a property to have a split zone?
I don't believe so, but I can take that one on notice and get back to you if there's some technicalities that would allow that.
Thank you.
I'll take that element on notice.
Thank you. Do we have any other councillor questions? Or no? Okay. Do we have 13.3, councillors' notice of motion? Do we have any councillors have a notice of motion? Do I give that to councillor? Would you say it now or I'll give that? Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you. Okay. Potential Local Government Act 1993 Amendments 15.002/22. I'll refer councillors to the recommendation of this report. And do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor Gibson. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Lovell. Councillor Gibson, do you wish to speak to this motion?
Yeah, briefly.
Yeah.
I focused primarily on the priority amendments because that seemed to be where that the action was going to be. They all seemed pretty sensible and straightforward. There was one question around 31, which was moving of budgetary money during the year to achieve priorities by the General Manager. I wondered if I could just ask a question about that, about how you balance the flexibility that the General Manager might require at the same time as sticking to the budget plan that councillors have endorsed. It seems like a complicated line to tread, I guess.
Okay, can I ask that one through you, General Manager?
So if I can just clarify, you're looking to understand what we might consider when reassessing the budget?
Yes, and I guess whether councillors are, I don't know, kept informed about those sorts of changes. I mean, you go through the budget fairly carefully to make sure that it's as you want it to be, and then if this sort of flexibility comes in, I'm just wondering, how far does that go? I mean, does it mean that the budget is not the budget anymore, or is it minor changes, or I don't know?
Yeah, it's a good question, and I think, again, as you'll have appreciated over the last few months, that we've been pretty open about the financial position. We do a forecast that's presented to council around the likely end of year financial position, with changes that are happening through our operational and strategic needs. And I think an example would be the local government reform as a classic example, where that notice has come out late in the first half of the financial year, and we need to make sure we've got resources ready to respond and work through the needs of that feedback as it comes through. So I think that's a really good example where we would potentially reposition and reprioritise some of our activities that are being undertaken. Equally, there's going to be things that will achieve below budget and over budget, and we'd want it to be moderating and managing those overs and unders and presenting that information to you. So I think there's many levers that we can pull to make sure that we hit that budgeted number, and obviously it's important that we deliver all that we've promised to council and the community, and if priorities change through the year, then we'd be consulting with you anyway. I don't think we'd be blindly.
So that's the current system, but under these Local Government Act amendments, they're proposing to increase that I guess delegated authority. I don't know. Is there a problem the way things are at the moment?
Yep.
So through your acting mayor, recommendation 31 is that councils will have greater flexibility to allocate resources as required.
Yes.
So it's not immediately delegated to general managers.
No.
What we don't know is what that reform would look like. It's only when we get the detail we can comment on it to say whether it's workable or not, but certainly council is a part of that discussion.
Thank you.
And I think that's better practice. Regardless of what the Act might provide, we'd be certainly engaging.
I guess I'm wondering what extra flexibility the local that they're proposing.
The reform, yeah.
And maybe, and where the reform is sort of seen as needed. It was something that we supported as Huon Valley Council, but I don't know where the problem is at the moment, I guess.
Yeah,
with
and I think we're pretty good in terms of the reporting we have, and some of
and flexibility is there.
Yeah, and I think some of the mechanisms that we have, maybe some of the other councils don't have in terms of forecasts and the like. So I think it stands to the openness that we've got already in our reporting that council and the community are seeing those forecast notices come through monthly, or quarterly at the very least.
Okay, do I have any other, or do I have a councillor to speak against the motion? No. Is there any other questions? Would you like to close?
No, that's fine. Thanks,
Okay.
Mayor.
As there's no councillors to speak against the motion, then I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all councillors. Australian Local Government Association, ALGA, 15.003/22. I refer the councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Councillor Gibson, and a seconder. Councillor Prince. Do you wish to speak on the motion, Councillor Gibson?
Yeah, I was very impressed with this document. I thought it looked really, really interesting and good. It was trying to get money for a community-based recovery and channel more money into local government. There was an emphasis on building resilience and a good addressing of climate change issues. Job creation through investing in local government sound like a really good idea, and I was intrigued that it seems to return more to GDP than it costs. The emphasis on the load that we carry as local government in road maintenance. I think that everybody in this council knows that that's a big issue, and we need more funding in that area. So that was one of the demands. There was a point about national housing strategy and innovative housing partnerships, which again was very relevant here. And then addressing the waste issue by moving to a circular economy. So all of those sorts of things seem to be really the sort of things that we've all been talking about for a while, and I think we should definitely support it. I guess I had a question. I don't know that anybody can answer it, but how would this, if the this federal money was obtained, how would it be distributed across the country? And there was a second question there. In what ways can we support this proposal?
Through you, General Manager. Do you?
Through you, Acting Mayor. In relation to how it will be distributed, that one is certainly an unknown. I can't shed any more light on that one. How to promote, so the proposal from this report is that the Mayor does the lobbying on behalf of the Council. There is nothing wrong with councillors also representing that decision, because it's important that we put that out to the community as well, because if they can see the benefit from it, they can advocate for to the local candidates as well.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there a councillor to speak against the motion? Are there any other questions? No? Councillor Gibson, would you like to?
No.
You happy?
I hope we have some luck with it.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. Well done. Okay, so As there's no councillors to speak against the motion, then I will put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all, and the motion is carried.
Mayor, could I ask if you would allow I just remembered I had another announcement.
Right.
Would you allow that?
Can I do that little bit further down?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, thank you. All right, what are we up to then?
This next one's being withdrawn, Mayor.
Yes. Yep, so the next one's withdrawn. Okay. The annual general meeting resolutions 15.005/22. I refer the councillors to the recommendations of this report. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Do I have a councillor? Was that you, Councillor Gibson?
Sure.
Yep. A seconder? Do you wish to speak, councillor? Yeah, you need to probably.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Where are, well, I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
thought we were at the, before the medical centre.
No, that's been withdrawn.
Ah,
They're the two that's been withdrawn. Sorry, I was trying to give you the eye.
apologies.
You're right.
Apologies.
Okay.
Okay, I do have a,
Yes.
a
I thought
motion
so.
here.
Is that? Can we do that now?
Sure.
Matthew? Do we have to go back and?
Through, I don't know if this works through the mask. If the mover and seconder, with the consent of the meeting, wish to withdraw that motion for consideration.
Yep. Do you both, Councillor Gibson and Councillor
Yes.
Prince? Yes, they do. Thank you.
Apologies
Yeah,
to the
that's
meeting.
all right. Do I have a councillor to move a motion?
Thank you.
Thanks,
I
Clark.
wasn't aware that the other had been withdrawn. Yes, I'd like to move a motion, as you all have a copy of here. The report on the resolutions from 2020-21 annual general meeting be received and noted. The only change to the one recorded in the minutes here, in the agenda here, is the first dot point, which regarding the providing of an opportunity to download and develop development application documents from the council's website. And I was in favour of that happening, but the report did state that they weren't going to be in favour of it. And what I would like to do is have that deferred until we have more information, because I think there's a fair bit that we could do, because most other councils do have that option.
Okay.
So that's, yeah. I don't need to read the rest of the motion in that regard.
It would be useful for the recording and for those who are watching the live stream.
Do you want me to read it all? Are you
That's
right?
fine. I can read the motion.
Yep.
First dot point, a report be brought to a future council meeting that provides advice on and explores opportunities for the council to allow the download of development application documents from the council's website in a manner that would not breach or would minimise the risk of breach of the Copyright Act 1936. Second dot point, planning assessment reports be automatically provided to all representatives via email. Third dot point, detailed cost and benefit of publicly sharing planning assessment reports via council's website be provided to councillors for consideration as part of FY22 budget process. Fourth dot point, the council considers allocating sufficient funding in the budget for financial year 22-23 to ensure that every township in the municipal area has an up-to-date master plan. Dot point 5, an addendum be provided for the 2020-21 annual report addressing the councillor appointments to the General Manager's recruitment panel and General Manager recruitment activities undertaken in the 2020-21 financial year. And the last dot point, a specific section be included within 2021-22 annual report regarding the General Manager's recruitment process. So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Okay, is there any? Yeah? I put you down. Do I have to? Is that okay, or do I have to ask again?
It's technically a new motion.
Okay. All right. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Prince. Thank you. Councillor Clark, would like to speak further on that?
I think I put the cart before the horse and I spoke on it before, but I think you all understand where I'm coming from with this. I think it's very important that we do look into it further and don't just disregard it for the Copyright Act, because I'm sure there is a way around it. And with regards to, for instance, I think the Hobart City Council has a proponent and inquirers agree to specific terms and conditions concerning copyright, etc. And I think that we can look at those types of things. So, yeah, I'm in favour of that.
Thank you. Is there any councillor to speak against the motion? Are there any other questions? Yes, Councillor Prince.
But is it okay if I also speak for the motion?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I'd just like to congratulate Councillor Clark. I think that's a very intelligent, well thought out sort of amendment to make on the motion. I think it really is probably testament to your ability to listen to the public with these AGMs and make sure that you are really paying attention to what people want. So well done. It's a great motion.
Thank you. All right, as there's no councillor to speak against the motion. Oh, you've asked Councillor Clark. Do you like to close?
No, I think
Yep.
I've said enough.
Okay.
Thank you.
So as there's no councillor to speak against the motion, then I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all councillors. The motion's carried. Financial report 16.001/22. I refer councillors to the recommendation of this report. Do I have a councillor to move a motion? Yes, Councillor Lovell. Seconder? Councillor Gibson? Councillor Lovell, would you like to speak to the motion?
I just had one question through you, Mayor, and that was regarding the interest, which is on point F there. Have we got any indication whether this is going to continue in a downward trend or whether this is eventually going to settle?
Okay, can I ask through you, General Manager, to your Director?
Did you want to respond to that one?
Yep.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. So I take it this question is in relation to interest earning on our investments.
Yes.
Yes, that's, yeah. Yep, so I think my best answer to that can only be that I don't have a crystal ball, but certainly going back 6 months or so ago, I think raised interest rates until 2023, 2024 or thereafter. I think in more recent times, I think forecasts of interest rates going up again have been brought forward, and some suggestions are that it could even take us this year. But we'll just have to wait and see how that plays out. And I think that's just the best answer that I can provide at this stage.
Did you want me to summarise that? We were just breaking up. Sorry, David. So I think the projections are interest rates to remain steady as they sort of are for at least another 18 months or thereabouts. I noticed that there's discussions as late as this morning around the US lifting their interest rates, I guess reflective of recovery going on around the globe. And I expect that will sort of, potentially start some interest rate movement. I think the interest rates are still pretty flat in terms of fixed rates, so we're probably not likely to see interest revenue from our perspective increase in the short term. David can confirm if that was different to what he was saying, but I think that was, in summary, what he was attempting to say. Sorry, we just got a break up this end, David.
Well, I think we're having similar. He didn't hear me terribly clearly, and I wasn't able to hear you clearly either. But
cover it off separately.
I'm hoping we said the same thing.
Yeah, no, beautiful.
Okay, do we have any other questions? Yes, Councillor Gibson?
Part of this is a comment and part of it's a question. I really like the notes that we get explaining all of the variances. There was no note though on the $14,000 decrease in financial services. I wondered if that could be explained. And interestingly, after Councillor Prince's question, I also had a question about outstanding rates, which you've already answered. Even though the decrease there's been a decrease of outstanding rates, still I'd be interested in hearing your report when that comes through.
Thank you, General Manager. Yep.
I'll just try that again. I'm not sure I fully heard that, but I believe the question was in relation to on page 12 of the attachment in relation to financial services. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so so the decrease there is primarily as a result of our decrease in the forecast of interest earnings. So the very thing that we were just speaking about. Yes.
Thank you. We might, you happy, Councillor Gibson, to hear the rates one, or you want?
No, that's fine.
That's fine.
Yep.
Okay. I have one question. In the investment summary, it's nice to see Bendigo Bank there, and there's a little upward arrow next to the A2. Can you tell me what that is, please, David? Through you, General Manager.
I think I can answer that, David. If we did ask that question a little bit earlier. I believe it's to signify that it's a local supplier.
Good.
And we are updating the legend to reflect that for next month's reporting. So thank you for the question.
Lovely. Okay. Councillor Lovell, have you got any other closing statements?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Okay. So as there's no one to speak against the motion, then I put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's all present and the motion is carried. Okay, Councillor Lovell, I'll let you have your little bit now.
Sorry, I just remembered another announcement that I'd forgotten. Early January, I think it was, I received an email saying that due to the lobbying of parents and also our council, the state government have put another bus on for the Huon Valley students travelling to school to Kingston from Huonville. So these kids were catching buses over the hill to Kingston, and they were having to stand every morning and every afternoon on the buses, crowded, really crowded. So they're actually putting on a bus specifically to cater for those kids travelling. So thank you to all the parents, and thank you to our council and mayor who specifically did that on behalf of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lovell. I think that we told everybody that had an ear to listen. I think they got sick of hearing us in the end. So, okay. All right, so it's that time again to advise that the council is about to go into closed. Thank you to those persons, well, we didn't have any in the gallery, so all the ones at home. The next ordinary meeting of the council is on Wednesday, the 23rd of February. We must continue to record the meeting while moving into closed session.
Closing at 7:14, Mayor.
The recommendation is that the meeting now be closed to the public at 7:14 pursuant to the Regulation 15 of the Meeting Procedures Regulations to discuss the following matters. 20.002/22, confirmation of minutes. 20.003/22, general reports, closed council. 20.004/22, assessment of expressions of interest. And now that's actually been deferred. 20.005/22, the Greg Norris Memorial Health Scholarships 2022. 20.006/22, tender TN 174, Wilmot Road footpath and stormwater construction. Do I have a councillor to... Yeah? Oh, that's right, okay. This one. Okay. Okay. Oh, yes, down in here. Yep, okay, so it's 20.007/22. Thank you. Okay, do I have a councillor to move a motion that we're going to closed? Councillor Lovell, a seconder. Councillor Gibson. I will put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hand. The motion is carried. I advise that in the accordance with the Yuan Valley Council's audio recording of council meeting policy, recording of the open session of the meeting ceased at